So, welcome to Introduction to Online Teaching. My name is Gloria Washington, and I am an instructional designer at the Center for Teaching Excellence. Dr. Haynes, the Assistant Director, is joining us, and Leanne Holly is our program assistant. So, by recognizing online teaching's unique qualities and developing your course around key principles and best practices, you can create an online course that will not only help your students achieve success, but will also advance your skills as an instructor. So, in this webinar, I will provide you with 10 tips for online course development while walking you through the 3Ds instructional design model: design, develop, and deliver. I will also introduce you to some best practices and key principles for online teaching and provide information about instructor support services here at U of SC. So this presentation may contain materials which have been used under license or for educational purposes. To teach a course online, the course needs to be approved for distance education delivery, also known as DED. So a list of courses already approved for DED is available on the Office of the Provost's website. Members of the Faculty Senate guide and approve online courses through an established review. So the following campus offices are here to help and support you through this step-by-step process. First, you have the Instructional Development Committee, also known as INDEV, and they are responsible for reviewing course proposals submitted electronically through the Academic Program Proposal System, known as APPS. Then there's the Office of Academic Programs, and they coordinate the development and revision of U of SC Columbia courses. Then, of course, the Center for Teaching Excellence, where we have instructional designers who can help you with moving a course to the online instruction. And then the Office of Distributed Learning, which will assist instructors through course approval process, and they also have recording studios, and they also do test proctoring. So before you start developing your online course, you want to check to see if that course is already approved to be taught online. So synchronous versus asynchronous. Deciding which format you want to teach in an online environment. So as shown in the table, a synchronous online course requires students to participate in online meetings or even lectures, and is at a specific time. So maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday. In an asynchronous online course, it requires students to complete activities and assignments totally on their own to meet course deadlines. And before you move into the design, develop, and delivery phases for online course development, you want to first select the most appropriate online format. Then you want to establish a reasonable timeline for developing your online course. So I recommend allowing 6 to 12 months for course development. However, it is possible that you can develop your online course in 3 to 6 months. It is best practice to have the entire online course ready for students at least 2 weeks prior to the course start date. Online course development begins with careful planning and quality course design. A planned experience encourages student commitment. So here are 3 tips for planning your online course. Number 1, consider the course learning outcomes first. Tip number 2, provide opportunities for collaboration and active learning. And then tip number 3, give all students equal opportunity to learn. So let's start with tip number 1. So in reference to tip number 1, you can use the backward design. So course learning outcomes are the first step in backward design. So as such, they hold the primary spot in the course design process to ensure meaningful learning experiences for your students. So the use of backward design provides, again, that relevant and meaningful learning experience. It ensures that the required course outcomes are met, and it prepares students to perform successfully throughout the course. So it starts with the end in mind, the desired results, and it focuses on what students need to know, understand, and be able to do based on the instruction that you provide them. So it can be summarized in a 3-step process. Identify desired outcomes. So you want to articulate what learners or what students should be able to understand and do once you provide that instruction. Determine acceptable evidence. What can the students do to show you that they have achieved those course learning outcomes that you have outlined at the start of the actual class? So you want to give them different assessments and measurements. And then plan learning experiences and instructions. So you want to develop your instructional materials, your activities, and interactions around those course learning outcomes. The 7 principles of good practice in undergraduate education for good teaching and learning in colleges and universities can be applied to all courses, regardless if it's an undergraduate, graduate, whether it's an online course or whether it's face-to-face, hybrid, or blended. So in relationship to tip number 2, provide opportunities for collaboration and active learning, Chickering and Ganson stated that good practice involves students learning more through interactions with other students and less through instructor lecture. So through active learning, students can connect course materials to other concepts, past knowledge, and their daily lives. And students must talk about what they are learning. They must write reflectively about it, relate it to their experiences, and then apply it to their daily lives. So principle number 7 here for the 7 principles, respect diverse talents and ways of learning, aligns with tip number 3 that I gave you, give all students equal opportunity to learn. So many roads lead to learning. Also, tip number 3 refers to universal design for learning. So when it comes to learning, variability is the rule and not the exception. So as I discussed, universal design for learning, also referred to as UDL, think about how it might inform your teaching practices. So universal design for learning focuses on curriculum development that gives all individuals equal opportunity to learn. So there are 3 primary principles which are based on neuroscience research. And these principles guide UDL and provide the underlying framework for the guidelines. First, there's engagement. Engagement is the why of learning, and it refers to how students engage with the course content, the instructor, and other students, as well as how motivated students are to learn. So learning occurs when students are engaged in their process of learning. And there are multiple ways that we can hold the attention of students. So if we can allow different students alternative ways to engage with the learning process, then we can maximize the learning outcome for all students. Representation. This is the what of learning, and it refers to the ways that you present course content to your students. Learning and transfer of learning occurs when multiple representations are used because it allows students to make connections within as well as between concepts. So consider making your course materials more flexible and maybe using instructional technology and other softwares. For example, you can improve your lecture presentations by putting more visual present content in your PowerPoint presentations. When you do pre-recorded lectures or pre-recorded instructions, by providing transcripts and captions, then you're giving students multiple means of looking at that particular content. And also in the Blackboard learning management system, there is Blackboard Ally. So once you post a document, for example, your syllabus in a Word format, then students have the ability to look at that content in different formats. They can choose a PDF, or they can even get an audio of that actual reading of the syllabus. Then thirdly, there is action and expression. This is the how of learning, and it refers to how students demonstrate what they have learned in your course. So you want to provide students different ways to practice and demonstrate their learning. Engagement, representation, and action and expression is essential to the design, development, and delivery of your online courses. Okay, so now let's talk about building your actual online course. So this is phase 2 of what we call the 3Ds instructional design model. So after you complete that design phase, you do all of your planning and you have your good outline of what content you're going to present to the students, what assessments. You already started with your course learning outcomes. So here are 4 tips for building your online course. Tip 4, use the university quality assurance standards, which I will talk about next. Prepare assessments, instructional materials, activities, and interactions that align with the course learning outcomes. Tip 6, let your course learning outcomes drive technology selections. And number 7, use templates to build your syllabus, schedule, and Blackboard course. And I will talk about those as well. So let's start with tip number 4. The quality assurance standards for online and blended courses at the university are based on the Quality Matters Higher Education Course Design Rubric Standards. And so that rubric is a set of standards that are used to ensure that online and blended courses encompass best practices and procedures. So our quality assurance standards consist of 9 general standards, as you can see here, and then several specific standards. So 5 critical components in these standards: your course learning outcomes and your objectives, your assessment and measurement, instructional materials, learning activities and student interaction, and then course technology work together to ensure that students achieve those desired learning outcomes, and then your module learning objectives. So when they are aligned, each of these course components is directly tied to and support, again, those course learning outcomes. So learning outcomes come first, and they serve as that guide into your course development, into your course delivery as well. So here is a course design template that I like to share when I do one-on-one consultations with instructors. It gives you an overall picture of your entire course. And in the template, you don't give specifics about the type of paper, but you would give like, you're going to have the students do a paper. That's an assessment. You may have them take a quiz or take a midterm or final exam. You may use blogs or journals for the activities and the interaction. And then it allows you to also specify what type of course technology you want to use throughout the course. So in column 1 is where you have your course learning outcomes. And then in column number 2, you'll look at your course learning outcomes, and then you'll break those outcomes down into what we call modules. And normally the modules correspond with your face-to-face course environment. So if you normally have 14 weeks, then you will have 14 modules. If it's a shorter term, summer, you only have 3 weeks, then it'll be like a 3-module type of setup. But I do recommend that you build the courses if it's a full semester, either fall or spring semester, and then when you teach it in the summer for a shorter time frame, it's easier to combine versus trying to expand later when you have to do a full course for a particular semester. So the instructional materials can be a variety of formats. It could be textbook. It could be open resources, OERs. It could be instructor-created lectures, videos, audios. It could be additional resources from the library or from web pages or from the publisher. And it should contribute to the students achieving those course learning outcomes. So when you prepare your materials, you should consider both course and module objectives, and then look for clear and direct ways in which materials are aligned to both of those outcomes and objectives. So without the alignment between course learning outcomes and your module learning objectives, your assessments, learning activities, and interactions, students may spend time on activities, assignments, and assessments that do not lead to the intended course outcomes. So this course template is a good source and a good resource for you to begin planning and designing out your actual class. Okay, so let's take a look at tip number 6, which was let your course learning outcomes drive technology selection. As you are aware, there are many technologies, many tools out there that can be used in an online environment. So you want to make sure that you're selecting technologies that help your students meet those course learning outcomes and module learning objectives, that they are easy to use for not only you but your students as well, and that they can be used in different platforms on a Mac or in a PC, and that they are accessible to individuals with disabilities. So if you come across a technology that you want to use that is not accessible, you want to make sure that you provide an alternative technology so that you can meet the needs of all students. Okay, here is a website screenshot from our Center for Teaching Excellence website, and it's for the syllabus templates. And so when you go to our website, you will see several templates that we have. You will see here we have face-to-face course templates. We have the online course template, the blended. We also have course schedule templates in Word format so that you can just build out your actual syllabus for your class. And within our templates, you will find a lot of boilerplate language already in there, so it'll cut your time in developing your actual syllabus. And then our course schedules will break down the semester. So whether it's the summer, whether it's the fall, it'll break down the whole semester, and it'll also incorporate the days off for the students, the holidays, and things like that as well. Okay, and the last template is the Blackboard online course template. This is available through any of the instructional designers here at the Center for Teaching Excellence. And so basically this template will help you meet those quality assurance standards that I talked about earlier. So one of those standards is course navigation facilitates ease of use. And so this template, as you can see on the course menu side, where it's already broken down for you, getting started area, start here, course information, your syllabus and your schedule, about the professor, about the instructor, then your course contents, you'll see course modules. So when you're developing your course in your Blackboard environment, you want to be sure to break down your course, divide your course into your different course modules. And again, this is available through any instructional designer at the Center for Teaching Excellence, so feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to help you through this particular template and any other assistance you may need. We will move on to deliver, teaching your online course. And here you will see 3 tips for actually teaching your online course. So tip number 8, make student interaction with the instructor and your presence part of the course. So back when you were back in your design and your planning stage, and then if you use that template, you already put in different interactions for your students, but you want to definitely make sure that your presence is known. Tip number 9, create an instructor participation and workload management plan. So before you even go to teach the class, you want to make sure you already have a plan in place. You know, how often will you check your emails? What days will you grade assignments? How quick will you get feedback to that student? So that you're not spending a lot of time in your online course environment, but you're present, and you're also able to maintain your course and grade assignments and do different things within that actual course. So I'm coming back to the 7 principles of good practice, and related to tip number 8, make student interaction with the instructor in your presence part of the course, is related to number 1, 4, 5, and 6 of these 7 principles. So these principles deal with the student to instructor and instructor to student interactions, as well as the instructor communications and presence in that online course. Instructors can interact with their students at the start of an online course by posting like a welcome video. Instructors can also communicate with students through weekly announcements and even email messages. And you want to be sure to respond to your students' questions and problems quickly. So you should respond to students within like 24 to 48 hours. And you're going to find that students are going to want and need that appropriate and timely feedback. So if it's a written paper, you know, they are going to expect some type of feedback on, you know, things that they wrote within that actual paper. And also you want to provide students with detailed instructions and expectations, not only in the syllabus, but also in the learning management system. If you post an assignment, for example, for them to write a specific paper, you want to be sure to also copy and paste those instructions from your syllabus into the learning management system as well. Also, it's good practice to provide rubrics for those papers or for those projects, detailing what the students must accomplish so that they'll know the grade value for each of those accomplishments. And so this allows the students to know exactly what you expect of them. In Blackboard Collaborate, there is a poll feature, and that's what we used at the start of this presentation. You can type out the question into the poll, and you can give them 4 different options to choose from. And then in the participant, when you go to the participant panel, as the students participate in the poll, you will see their response. Other students can't see it, but you as the instructor will see that as well. You have, of course, Poll Everywhere. You have your Google Forms, your Mentimeter, and your Slido. So those are other ways to engage. And especially if you're doing a synchronous online course, you definitely want to have some engagement during your online sessions as well. Now here's talk about the My Course Delivery Plan. So as I said earlier, you want to make sure that prior to delivering your online course, you want to complete some prompts. And these are just 4 different prompts that you can consider completing. And so it has been my experience that very few instructors actually think about or even create an instructor participation plan or my course delivery plan, or even consider how they're going to manage their workload prior to teaching the course. And this is as important as, you know, developing the course online in Blackboard, because you don't want to get caught up spending so much time in an online course environment that you neglect other areas of your life. So if you determine up front, you know, how you're going to be interacting with the students, how you're going to communicate with your students, and then your workload. You know, if your papers are due on a Tuesday, you know, do you plan to grade them that Tuesday afternoon, or will you grade them on Wednesday and Thursday? You also have to consider the size of your class, the number of assessments, the number of activities you're going to give the student. And so you want to already set that stage ahead of time before you even teach the class on day 1. And then how will you support your students? How will you have your students engage in their learning? When you see students that are not participating, what's your plan for getting them involved in the class? Facilitating online discussions, if you have discussions in your class. And then your course and your time. Be mindful of your time. And if you plan that time ahead of time, it'll be real helpful to you in while you're teaching the class and even after the class is over. So I want you to take a minute here to think about some ways that you can set the stage in your class. So how do you think you can set the stage in your online class? What about the prompt, I plan on supporting student engaged learning by? For example, you can set the stage in your class by posting a welcome announcement in Blackboard. I would set the stage with a welcome introduction video. That is a great way because when your students come into the classroom, you want them to know that the door is not only open, that you are also there. So when you give them that welcome introduction video, it's like being in a face-to-face environment. That first day of class, you don't walk into class and just start immediately into content. You start with some type of welcome and some type of introduction. Would set the stage in my class by introducing myself through a welcome video, and I'll allow the students to introduce themselves through discussion posts and answer icebreaker questions. Great, because you definitely want the students to get to know each other as well as getting to know you as well. I will manage my course and time by using auto-graded quizzes and allotting several hours for grading the day after each module due date. I do welcome announcements, welcome video, I do discussion post introductions. So discussion board introductions are again a great way for students to find out about each other. You can also use some outside technologies or tools as well. One is Flipgrid, and Flipgrid will allow students to not only type their introduction, they can record videos as part of their introduction as well. And in synchronous environments, using breakout groups are a great way to help facilitate those online discussions as well. As you walk this journey of designing, developing, and delivering your online course, keep in mind that you are not alone. There is support for you across campus to help you with writing your course learning outcomes, the creating course content, integrating technology, preparing your assessments, your instructional materials, your activities, and your interactions, and so on. So here I listed 4 resources. You have, of course, the Center for Teaching Excellence. So the instructional design team can help you with moving your course online, whether you have taught it already in a face-to-face environment, whether it's a new course that you're going to put online, and we can provide one-on-one consultations, pedagogical assistance with either your face-to-face, your online, your hybrid, or your blended courses. We can help you identify different technologies to support your teaching and learning. In the Office of Distributed Learning, provides support for your course production, transcript, captions, and even test proctoring. So if you are interested in recording those welcome videos, module introductions or module outros, or lessons, lectures, feel free to use the Office of Distributed Learning. They have professional equipment. They have professional studios. It would give you great quality for your recorded materials, and they will help you with those closed captioning as well. E-learning services, which is a part of the Division of Information Technology, supports Blackboard and other technologies. So you can always call upon them if you have problems with your Blackboard environment, if you have problems with other technology that's supported by the university. Then there's the Thomas Cooper Library, and the Thomas Cooper Library, definitely a great resource and source for you as well as your students. And for you, they can provide you with essential services for teaching, such as educational films. They have a collection of films that you can stream. They can also put links into your Blackboard course for electronic reserves, different electronic reserves if you're using specific articles or specific course content. They can help you with that as well. And then the Student Disability Resource Center promotes inclusion by ensuring that equal access to all aspects of the Carolina environment for the students with disabilities by facilitating the provision of reasonable accommodations. So they will help you if they have identified a student in your class who may need assistance. They will email you and let you know that that student needs assistance and they can help you, as well as if you need assistance, they can help you as well. So those are your support services. So let's go through and let's recap some of these tips. So here is a recap of your first 5 tips. So tip number 1, consider the course learning outcomes first. That is extremely important. Tip number 2, provide opportunities for collaboration and active learning. Remember, students learn by doing something. Tip 3, give all students equal opportunity to learn. That's where the universal design for learning comes into play. Tip number 4, use the university's quality assurance standards. And those standards are available through an instructional designer at the Center for Teaching Excellence. Tip number 4, prepare your assessments, your instructional materials, your activities, and interactions that align to the actual course learning outcomes. So what are your takeaways? The university has a lot of support that I can look into. Yes, helpful course design template. And if you are interested in getting a copy of that course design template or the quality assurance standards, please feel free to shoot me an email. So the course design template and syllabus templates are very helpful. Okay, now when we take a look at tips 6 through 10, what takeaways do you have here? Some of you already have mentioned using existing instructional support services. What about create an instructor participation and workload management plan? You know, had you heard about that before today? Do you normally do that even in a face-to-face environment? Do you set up a workload and time management plan? Tip number 8, make student interaction with instructor in your presence part of your course. We talked a little bit about that already as well. Your templates that we have available to you to use. And then, of course, let your course learning outcomes drive your technology selections. So be mindful. If you decide you want to use a blog, for example, what learning outcome aligns with that blog? And what would students do to meet that learning outcome in relationship to that actual blog? I was more concerned with organizing my students' workload and didn't really consider how I should organize my own time to be as productive and efficient as possible. And that is so true. Sometimes we spend a lot of time on that student organizing the content and how the students are going to interact, and then we forget about ourselves and how will we be most productive. Tip number 9 seems to be popular. Now, we have 3 more webinars coming up that will give you a deeper dive into design, planning your online course, develop, building an online course, and deliver teaching your online course. Well, thank you all so much